Happy Friday, everyone.
It's another beautiful day.
It is. Dr. Larry Waldman, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleased to be here.
Phoenix, right? You're physically in Phoenix now?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the weather looking like in Phoenix right in this time of year?
Today it'll probably approach 90 as a high.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a little cooling spell last few days. It was overcast, which is very nice. See, we Phoenicians, we like overcast because
Why would
we
you?
get sick and tired of the sunshine.
The oppressive heat.
It's too nice every day.
Yeah. I mean, what do they say? It's a dry heat.
Well, that it is. Although in what they call the dog days, August, September, the humidity comes up to about 30%.
No, that's nothing. We're in Baltimore. We're below sea level.
It's like, yeah.
It's 110%. I don't know how it works, but it is.
But if you add 110 degrees, with
yeah, that gets you.
Yeah, even the Phoenicians are like, what the hell's going on?
Since I retired from active practice, my wife and I go to Southern California for the summer.
Oh, wow.
So I have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. What do you like where do you go in Southern California?
Well, it used to be a place in Long Beach.
Okay.
But 2 years ago, we pivoted, and we now are in a over 55 community. Yeah, I just make it.
Yeah, just squeaking by.
Right. In what is called Laguna Woods.
Oh, cool.
It's inland from Laguna Beach, a couple miles.
Yeah, I've had, I'm from the other California up north, but plenty of clients and friends and family all down in Southern California. It is beautiful down there.
It's also close to my oldest son. I have two, and his family, and my oldest grandson, who's just turned 11. So,
oh, wow.
Wow.
So that's been a stitch too.
Awesome. Let's just kind of get into it a little bit. I'm curious, you got some fun books and some cool topics that you've covered over,
and a great practice history. And look, I'm 25 years an acupuncturist as of last month. And I'm always excited when we can talk to anybody who's another practitioner who has some senior insights for me. So I'm real excited to see where this goes.
Well, as a matter of fact, one of the things I still do is I coach and I speak to mental health associations on the topic that I call non-traditional methods of marketing and practice.
What's non-traditional? Do you have a for example?
It's that guy with the sign that spins it on the corner.
I started out in practice shortly after obtaining my doctorate in late 70s, and began a very traditional kind of practice, seeing people with depression and anxiety, family work, and so on. And of course, taking insurance and fighting with them on a regular basis.
Hot button issue, Doc.
Yeah. You hit me right in the chest there.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, and approaching the 90s, early 90s, I came to realize that I've got about 15, 20 years in, and another 15, 20 years left. But if I keep doing this, I'm paying my bills and we're living, but I want to travel and I want to leave a little bit of a legacy and things of that nature, and I wasn't going to do it this way. And so basically, I did a little bit of reading and a little bit of introspection, and essentially, the question I asked myself is, using my experience and skills, how can I do things that one are a little more interesting, and secondly are more remunerative. And I decided at that point to look into the legal field, the forensic arena. And I started working with family law issues, um, and and having seen numerous patients, clients that had been through the ugly divorce process. I knew what many of the issues were, and making a longer story short, I wrote a letter to the judges at the two courts that I would frequent, and to each judge, and said, I'm coming into this field. I've had years of practice. I was a school psychologist for 8 years before I got into private practice. So evaluating, testing, and things of that nature. But here's what I'm offering. I'll have a, if the people involved cooperate, I'll have a report to you in 90 days. What was happening many times, this was dragging out to a year or more. Okay? I will charge a set fee based on the number of persons involved. A lot of complaints was that the people involved didn't know what it was costing them. They were getting a bill every month, but when was it going to end? So they knew right up front. Also, I will use a set protocol as to how I will conduct this process, this family study, so that everyone knows where they are in the process and so on. And the judges ate it up. And so I went, wow, okay. And immediately I started getting busier. They also started using me as a, I can't think of the word now, but where they would refer couples following the divorce decree who were still acrimonious, where I would work with them and help them learn to communicate and cooperate, of course, for the sake of the child or children. So started doing that. Then, since that started working so well, I thought the next step I took was to get into the personal injury arena. It started with a case, again trying to keep it short. Basically, this young woman was in a terrible wreck a year or so before I saw her, and her father came in to me and said, the attorney that represents us against the insurance company thinks the offer is reasonable and suggests we settle. And the father said, physically, I think she's back to her old self, but I'm not sure mentally. Would you see her? And I did. And it didn't take 15 minutes to recognize that she had severe trauma that she was trying to hide because she thought she was going insane. And that happens a lot. People don't understand PTSD or trauma. She thought something was wrong with her brain. And when I explained to her that she was having a normal response to an abnormal situation, and that it even has a name for it, things began to change. And very quickly, I saw an opportunity. And I contacted an attorney I knew who headed up the PI group at the Arizona Bar Association. And 3 months later, I'm speaking to 60 or so PI attorneys on recognizing and managing post-traumatic stress disorder in the personal injury client. And this was an easy sell because what I was doing is a couple of things. One, I was treating the whole patient. Even to this day, it's still happening. Most personal injury clients are being treated, as I say, from the neck down. No one's really responding or dealing with, why am I having trouble sleeping? How come I can't drive anymore, or I can't drive at night, or I can only drive alone, or whatever the case is. Many of these people actually hide it because they're ashamed. They think they're going crazy or whatever, and it's very, very stressful. And most PI attorneys, frankly, just don't address it. They get your car fixed, they get you paid for your time off from work, and so on. They usually 5% for pain and suffering. Sometimes I increased the award after I wrote the report to the insurance company by better than 50%. And so obviously PI attorneys aim that up because they're getting 30 to 40% of the award.
Sure.
A bigger cut.
Yeah.
So getting the bigger cut. So that became another important part of my practice. But, since that was working out so well, I even did other things. I got into estate planning. Now you might wonder what does a psychologist have to do with estate
definitely.
There's a bit of a left turn there for sure.
Well, actually, what prompted me was the Anna Nicole Smith case.
Okay.
If you remember, that was like, again, in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
It was a case where a young woman marries a 90-year-old oil tycoon. And of course he's filthy rich, and he dies. I like to say with a smile on his face, but
sure.
So he passes, and it turns out that he had altered his will before his death, giving her half his estate. And the two sons, who thought that they were getting most of the estate, and so forth, sue. And it's a long, drawn-out thing, and they finally settle. Well, it occurred to me, and it's to this day, it's still the same. Lawsuits are happening all the time when controversial changes are being made to wills with wealthy individuals. The two issues are competence and duress. Was the person competent at the time he made the change, and then secondly, was he or she? It's usually he, of course. Well, most of the time, was he or she under duress? I mean, like it was undue pressure being applied, to change the will. So I saw an opportunity, again, thinking out of the box. And so I wrote a letter to all the estate planning attorneys in Maricopa County, in which Phoenix is in, and saying, this is happening. We look at the Anna Nicole Smith case, and here I'm offering a service where I will do a comprehensive evaluation of your client who's intent on making what could be a controversial change, and document his competency and level of duress while he's still alive.
I was going to ask, how do you do that after the person dies? Because you referenced Anna Nicole Smith, but clearly
the state of the art, still, to my knowledge, with estate planning attorneys, is they take used to be just an audio, but they take a video of the person, basically do a mental health status. What's your name? Where do you live? What's your telephone number? What is today's date? Where are you? Et cetera, et cetera. Now, they could be reading a placard, who knows? They could be They could be counseled on what to say, whatever. It doesn't compare to a comprehensive psych eval, not at all. And so right then and there is where I documented and so on. And a number of estate planning attorneys bought it, and they were happy because it took the stress away. Because when they get these suits, of course, it ties them up and so on.
So, Doc, can I ask, have you run into a case where a client did not, I don't want to say I'd pass your exam, but I guess, to make it binary there, where like clearly they're under distress or they're not mentally competent, or you're feeling like there's some pressure there? What then happens? Does the lawyer go, we can't do this? Or
no, I probably did 25, 30 of those evaluations over the years. That came about in the early 2000s, and I retired at end of 18. But there is one case I do recall. This was a case where a wealthy guy wanted to change his will because his daughter was about to marry somebody outside their religion.
Mm-hmm.
And his other, this gentleman, his other son was happened to be gay, who was with a partner, but they were not interested in any children. Okay. And so he had this daughter who was getting married, but he was so angry with her for marrying outside, the family religion, that he was going to cut her out. So the attorney called me. I did the assessment and had the final meeting with him. And I said to him, well, there's no question. You're very bright. You're sane. You're competent. There is no duress, and so forth. And so I you're certainly able to do this. But I have a question for you. And what's that? And I said, are you interested in grandchildren? And he went, yes, I would like that. And I said, well, it seems to me, your son is not going to give you any, it appears. And I actually had interviewed him over the phone. And if you cut off your daughter, it's highly doubtful to me that if your daughter and her husband have children, that you're going to get to see them very much, if at all. And then his wife, who was sitting next to him in the session, gives him an elbow and said, I told you so. And then he said, I think you might be right. And he changed it and put her back in. So
I think you might have a point there, Doc.
Well, and it's so funny where you hear this bias against homosexuality, and yet the bias against a different religion was stronger in that case.
I was just going to say, forget that
that's
you're gay.
really weird to me.
As long as he's the same religion.
As long as his partner's the same religion.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the girl was marrying, a straight guy, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point. He wasn't cutting out the son who was gay. I never.
And if
really
you're that hung up on religion, no matter what religion it is, gay is probably not high on the tolerance list.
Yeah, which is super weird to me.
Yeah. Well. So that's how that one worked. But no. But again, it was thinking out of the box, taking advantage of opportunities. And To this day, again, I speak to a lot of young mental health providers, and the statistics are lousy. Data shows that 7 out of 10 private practitioners close shop within the first 5 years.
Wow, that's worse than acupuncture, I think.
What's the root cause there?
Well, the root cause is simply this. Remember, mental health providers are liberal arts graduates. They've not taken. They haven't taken any business courses.
Sure.
So as I like to say, we get trained in how to conduct psychotherapy, but we receive no training whatsoever in how to manage and conduct the business of providing that psychotherapy.
Right.
Like things like billing, marketing, and things of that nature.
Doc, you're just stabbing me in the chest.
Well, it's so funny.
You're just running me over with a truck.
Yeah, but you know what you're saying though is, so I went last night in my neighborhood, not related at all to this story, but also fully related to this story. There is a woman running for state's attorney. And one of the things that the incumbent who she's running against does not do is anything data related. He has absolutely zero tracking on data. No data on, outside of the stuff that he's forced to track, like the police department tracks murder and robbery and all these other things. But like outcomes, specifically outcomes as a result of therapy or treatment or remediation, none of that's tracked. So they quite literally have no way of saying like, okay, great. What's the recidivism for people who went to this therapy versus that therapy? Like nobody has any idea. And one of her things is like, let's put a lot of data behind this. And somebody asked a question. They're like, how does trauma informed therapy pull into the picture here? Because police in our area are woefully undereducated in anything trauma informed. And I thought it was an interesting question because like on the optics of it, saying the words, what is trauma informed therapy? Like it has this sort of 4-letter word connotation almost, because people kind of associate that with this like woke mafia and any other word you want to put towards it. But the reality is that awakening of like, what does a trauma informed therapy look like? And how does it affect outcome is absolutely something that I think is pretty brand new. So when you're talking about all these things that you went through, it might not always be direct hits to trauma-informed therapy, but it is in fact also what other things are under the surface here that no one else has taken a look at, that no one else is talking about, that has a huge impact on outcome.
Right. Yeah. Well, as I was saying, we're not handling that, and PI attorneys and actually chiropractors. I've spoken to PI attorneys. I spoke to chiropractors as well, large groups of chiropractors, because what do they see many times? What brings a lot of patients into their practice?
MVA, motor vehicle accident. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's tough to ease somebody's back, if you will, while at the same time, this person is thinking, God, if this doesn't get any better, I just might off myself. No one's addressing it. I can't tell you how many times I would be talking with accident victims of one kind or another, not just motor vehicle accidents, work accidents, for example,
right,
and so on. And I start asking these questions, and they say to me, "No one's ever asked me this." They've been to the emergency room. They've seen the doctor. They've seen a handful, orthopedist, this, that, so on. But no one's asked how are they sleeping? How's your mood? Would your partner say that you have been behaving differently since the incident? oh my God, he just the other day he said, she said, I was, if you can't handle this, you're driving me crazy. All of that, it doesn't get addressed. And police again, to get a policeman to come in for some counseling, regarding the stress that he or she has been enduring in their job, that's tough. Military, of course, forget about, although it is getting better, but still.
How is it really? Military is getting better, because I would see them sort of looking through this kind of problem.
Dude, we have so many VA patients coming through, and we're treating them not just for physical stuff, but a lot of the PTSD they have from it.
Sure.
I mean, my office manager got the coolest fucking fighter jacket from one of our fighter pilots, and I'm like, God damn it, why did she have to be a tiny woman? I was like, I wanted that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's great. At least it's recognized, and there's a name for it, and so on.
Right.
Yeah. I love the fact that you were able to have this non-linear approach to what mental health is, and see avenues that, like, clearly everything you said to me sounds groundbreaking. Like, not too many people, if any, had to be doing any of that when you decided to give it a go.
And what's remarkable about that is that you look at it in a modern context, and it seems like self-explanatory. Like, you're like, oh, no shit. Like, obviously we would do this. But it seems like from the stories you're telling, Doc, that was definitely not obvious when you started doing that.
And it's probably still not that common now, even though we're aware of it.
Absolutely. Right. Just one more. Couple years before I retired, I read an article in the newspaper about this attorney who was this attorney who found a surrogate for this Phoenix couple, and the surrogate, of course, had the child, but upon birth refused to give it up.
Oof.
And not give it to the biological parents, and a big lawsuit came about. And I looked at that and I went, and so I contacted that attorney. Her name was in the paper. I contacted her, and she got on the phone, and I introduced myself, and I referenced that situation. And I said, it seems to me under these circumstances that, in your position, and so on, because of course she was cited in the suit as well, that you would have any new prospective surrogate undergo an evaluation before she moves forward. And I said, besides which, then I, as the mental health expert, would be taking on some of the liability. And she said, oh my God, is that a good idea? And so I started, doing that. It's again opening up this ideas. To be honest, what we're doing right here, I'm not, of course, in active practice anymore, so I'm not here, trying to get more, clinical clients and so on. But if I were, still in active practice, this kind of medium is perfect, especially now that psychotherapy done by Zoom is a thing.
Yeah, you never would have saw that coming, would you?
Well, I think COVID kicked that door wide open, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It wasn't in my day. Now, when it first started, the technology exceeded, the rules, because in Arizona, both the therapist and both the psychologist and the patient had to be within Arizona. Well, that's no more. If you are a member of what is called Psych Pack, I won't get into that. But yes, now it's possible that you could be, here in Phoenix and be doing therapy with somebody in a state far away, as long as the two states are in this organization. But what a better way of doing that?
No, do therapists suffer from the same lack of participation that doctors are currently experiencing? Like, we're just having a shortage of doctors. Is mental health professionals in a similar boat?
Oh God, man! Everybody I refer to has got like a 6-month waiting list, and it's LCSW all the way up to psych.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a common problem here as well.
Yeah. Well, COVID did that. Michael Phelps did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, really? How did he do it?
Yeah, I applaud. Dealing with the stigma of mental health.
Just airing it out. You mean? Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay.
That an Olympic athlete would admit. Out
to being a human being. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Well, there was that gymnast that dropped out of the Olympics, right? And then she came back, right? And that was this last one, right? She's amazing story.
Right. Exactly.
Well, it's not funny, actually. I just heard, I can't remember who it was, but I'm making up a name, Megan Trainor, or somebody of that caliber of musician, like global, Brazilian pop star, canceled a tour recently, or a few dates, and people were like, oh, it's probably a fucking mental health cancellation. And I was like, okay, what if it is?
What if it is? Yeah.
Like who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, why is that a bad thing?
Do you want her to never sing again, or do you want her to have a little break so she can get herself together?
Sing for your supper, bitch. Like that's, I mean,
and what is that? By the way, what does she owe anyone?
Exactly. No, it makes no sense. Like, I'm like,
God.
But that's the thing. Like, now it's gotten common enough where a bunch of internet trolls at least picked up on the fact that there's a possibility that this was due to mental health. And then it was like met with like, well, go fuck yourself. You shouldn't take off for that. What kind of, be a man, buckle up, and stop it.
Doc, I think you probably have some insights on people that would say that, what's going on with them, that they would do that to another person.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the stigma. It never ends. A guy could be going down the street and he's driving his truck and he hears a little ting. He says, "Oh, I think there's something. I think something in my transmission." And next thing you know, he goes. He comes home and he makes an appointment to take the truck into the transmission.
Mm-hmm.
His wife, greets him and says, "Sid, I'm sick and tired of this fighting we're doing and so forth. If this doesn't get better, I think we're gonna get. I'm gonna file for divorce. We need to see a therapist." "Oh no! No!
Yeah,
we're not going to do that. I'm not going to talk to a stranger about my personal problems. You can't get me to do that." He'll fix his transmission in his truck
in 8 seconds.
But to save his long-term marriage, forget about it. I'm not going to do that. That's crazy.
I saw my first therapist in college, right? And I was a junior in college, and I was having a lot of troubles. And somebody said, "Hey, you should go see a psychologist. They're free on campus." I said, "All right, well, I like free, and I guess I'll tell you what. Walking into that dude's office for the first time, I got as close to walking out and canceling something that I've ever gotten to in my entire life. Mostly because I was like, what kind of pussy am I to walk into a fucking guy's office, talk to this whack job about my meaningless problems? I should just pull up my pants and get back out there and do it." And that was a very viscerally real reaction for a year while I saw him every single time. I'm like, fuck this guy. And now it's to the point where I love going to therapy now. I don't do it all the time. I'm not on full time, but when I feel like the need, I'll go in just like a tune-up, right? It's like, all right, time for my 20,000 mile tune-up. I'm going to go in and I might see a therapist for 2 months, 6 months, there's no prescribed time, but like now it's like it's an ingredient in my list of weapons I have to combat the stresses of daily life, right? Like It's just one of many.
And I'm assuming this is more of a male objection than a female objection, right? You know?
Although, Tom, we have a million people on the show talking about perimenopause and menopause and like a lot of women's health, right? I think that
Hi,
Tom,
Dr. Erica.
Yeah, I think Tom,
we got a
gynecologist
gynecologist that listens to everything. So
yeah, you might be right on the male thing with psychology, but like this idea of pushing back against, like, I mean, we've had this conversation explicitly. Women are not like in a great headspace to go talk to a therapist about going through perimenopause or menopause. They're like, no,
yeah, even that has a stigma. Yeah,
I'm a mom, I should handle it, I could do anything. I'm like, well, you're not fucking Superman, you're not bionic. Like, I mean, come on, like, there's not. But I think for different reasons at different times, but I think both sexes have their guilt about pushing back when they should.
Well, is it this almost that we feel like we're stuck in this, physical world? So if it's not a physical thing, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, if you can't throw a pill at it, then it's
yeah.
Then what is it? Yeah, but you could throw a pill at mental health now. Like,
some of them.
Psychedelic. Well, no, the psychedelic revolution is largely about that, right? It's like, okay, well, you could. It's not a pill; it's a bag of mushrooms, but still, I mean.
Oh, they'll put it in a pill.
They have it in a pill. Hopkins puts it in. I wouldn't mind getting my hands on that.
On this topic, what I find very interesting. For a couple of decades, 2 decades, I've worked with a person who's a real firecracker, and she's with a community service, and we've been doing what she calls marriage university, and she puts out a calling for couples who are either newly married or recently engaged. And it's a day-long thing, and I'm the kickoff, and I talk about communication, resolving conflict, and things of that kind of nature. She even brings in an accountant who talks about money management and so on. And then there's a religious person who gives his
hit it from every angle.
Exactly. We've done it for years. The feedback has been wonderful, although interestingly, in the past year, can't fill a class. No one's interested apparently in anymore in doing some preventative stuff. And it's
but no one ever thinks they're going to get lung cancer smoking a cigarette when they're 25.
I feel like it's this lack of forethought more than anything else. It doesn't sound like a bad idea, but to get somebody to invest in preventative care, it's almost like, why would I need that? That's never going to happen to me. Even if they're beyond that teenage, I'm immortal kind of stage, they're still, it won't be me,
Same thing when you talk about parenting. I mean, I get in front of groups and I'll say, what's one of the most important things that as adults, we do in our life? Is to raise another human being. I think that's pretty crucial to me.
Timeless.
How much experience and training do these people get?
Yeah, precisely none. Zero.
Yeah. So most people are parenting simply by the seat of their pants, or doing, of course, what was done to them.
Yep.
Which
re-traumatizing kids.
Yeah.
I turned out fine, Doc. What the hell are you talking about?
As you get your 5th scotch of the morning.
Yeah.
And again, that stigma of, like I said, I turned out fine, and so on. But there's. There's material out there. There is, believe it or not, there's a science to this.
We had Heidi Webb on like a couple years ago. She has this thing called Concilium, which is a reinvention of divorce. It's like a whole different way of doing it, and it's collaboratively based, not contention based, and the efficacy metrics on what she's doing were flabbergasting.
Yeah, like through the roof compared to anything traditional.
Yeah, and what I think is fascinating about this is like totally corroborating what you're saying is that like when you when you look deeper at the situation and you see what's underneath, like that tends to be a lot more effective in how you deal with things.
Yeah. One of my books is right on this topic. It's entitled Love Your Child More Than You Hate Your Ex.
I was going to bring that up because it's the best title of a book ever. More Than You Hate Your Ex. I love that title.
It's so honest, honestly.
And of course, I'm familiar with this collaborative approach. But that's what's needed. But unfortunately, they're not doing, frankly, a very good job of promoting it. In Phoenix, I know of it. I used to refer clients to it, but you don't see any articles in the paper. You don't see anybody talking about it on the news, and so on. Now, again, as part of my marketing, I had a connection with the newspaper, and I had a connection with the local news TV station, and I'm on that promoting that stuff. Of course, at the same time, when I was in practice, promoting myself, and so on. But yes, but hopefully, if you engaged in some marital therapy or some parenting training, you wouldn't need it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, the title of your book is funny, but it shouldn't have to exist. Like, you shouldn't have to write a book that is called that, right? Like, you think that would be a lot less required than it is. And we know, I mean, I hate to say it, but I know 3 people that I could think of off the top of my head whose kids are going to be in therapy the rest of their fucking lives because of the divorce that their parents went through. And in many ways continue to go through every time they interact years and years after the actual fact, right? Which is mind-bending to me, but I'm not in their position. But it does strike me as odd that, like, hey, you're a human. If I walked up to you and I punched you in the balls, like, you probably wouldn't take that well. So why are you doing this to other people voluntarily? What's preventing you from seeing this repeated infliction of pain you're causing on your kids just because you cannot stand the presence of your ex? It's wacky to me.
Yeah, it's tough. My first book, Who's Raising Whom, is basically just teaching parents simple behavioral psychology applied to dealing with their behavior, and it's easy to understand, much harder to implement, but at least the theory is comprehensible, and so on. And parents need to do that because, frankly, most of the time they got it backwards. Very simply, what's the most valuable thing we can provide to our kids? It's our time, our individual time. And you know what the research shows? 95% of the time when the kids are acting out, guess what they're getting?
Attention.
Yeah.
Attention. 95% of the time when the kids are behaving, guess what they're getting?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Exactly. And we wonder why the kid's misbehaving. What are we teaching the kid? What is the kid learning?
Yeah. What's being reinforced by this? Yeah.
Exactly. It's simple things like that. A simple concept like that. If you get parents to understand that, to reverse that, and so on, and I'm on stage many times talking to groups of parents and just talking and you can see some of their eyes open. Oh my God!
Yeah, didn't think of that.
Yeah.
You said something that I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit earlier about you're having trouble after 2 decades of filling that class, which I agree with Tom that seems like it'd be very valuable. Do you think that? Do you have any intelligence as to why the decline is happening? Because and in particular, I'm curious if this idea that a 4-minute YouTube video makes me an expert in neurosurgery, like is any of that contributing to that? Like this, I'm just curious what might drive that in your mind.
You blocked out there for a second. Could you repeat the question, please?
Oh yeah. So I'm thinking, like, do you think people are less apt to go to a class like that when they've got YouTube University and TikTok University to kind of give them sort of like these surface level insight into things? Do you think people feel less like they're needing this kind of boutique information that used to be harder to find?
Well, yes. They, first off, again, the stigma, we can't ignore that. If I go to a parenting class, that means I'm a bad parent.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kids today, one of the impacts of all this electronic stuff, is that, it has to come fast, and I think that's one of the reasons why that new couples aren't coming to a half day long class, on
too long.
How to make a marriage work, 4 hours, forget that, and so on. I think there's a large part of that. Here, I'll share this story. My son will kill me, but I'm going to say it anyway.
I love stories like that.
My older son, who's 50,
your older son is 50? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Right.
Wow. I turned 50 in June. Just okay.
Well, I'll be 80 in a couple months.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah. So he says, Dad, he calls me, I know you love family stories, so I got one for the books. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, I'm not going to say his name, but my son came to me, and he's 11 and he's very bright, and he's hanging with some older kids, and he asked me, when you and Mom decided to have me, what did you know? What did you know what to do? Did you check YouTube?
Oh,
that's
God.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love the question, but it's also very, very tragic at the same time.
Man.
Yeah,
it is.
Of course, I'm just hysterical. I mean,
that's hilarious. Yes, I had to check YouTube for the special hug adults give each other.
You check anything, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, I do the same thing, man. I went to a couple years ago. I had to go get my brakes fixed on my minivan, and they wanted like $800. I'm like, this doesn't feel like $800. So I went on YouTube. I watched like 3 videos, and I walked outside and replaced my brakes. I was nervous. Trust me, I had small kids, and I'd never done this before. But my 30-year retired truck driver neighbor who's in his 80s came over. He's like, you look like you're doing guy stuff. What are you up to?
Like, that's great.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm replacing the brakes, and I'm watching a video. He goes, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm watching a video on how to do that. He goes, put that shit away. I'll check. Like, this is we've done this a million times. And the guy went to his garage and pulled out a jig he had made in the 50s or 60s of holding the brake pad out. I mean, he had all these like analog hacks. I learned 100 times more from playing with him in the driveway for an hour than I ever would have on YouTube. But like, my first reaction for the thing that is in charge of the safety of me and my entire family was to go fix that on YouTube. And listen, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think that's a very normal reaction in 2026.
Yeah.
Especially with everything. I mean, I just found out gas is now in California costs more than the federal minimum wage as of.
What is it, 7 something now?
Yeah,
or
right. And so in an ecosystem where that's a reality, I can't afford to go to the fucking Firestone to fix my brakes for $800.
Yeah,
I just can't do it. Period. Whether I should or shouldn't is immaterial. So I could easily see people looking to take shortcuts, but I'm actually also kind of concerned for the population where the importance of understanding future risk is no longer valued, right? Like the marshmallow, I keep talking to my kids about the marshmallow experiment, right? Like I'm like, and they now laugh at it. They're like, I would eat the one marshmallow right now. Fuck the second one. I don't need it. Like they wouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're making a joke out of it because I've razzed you about this a bunch. But like that's a commentary. It's an observation on where we're at and I don't know that that's a great spot.
Right.
And it is a little sad that people don't have a bigger interest in, I mean, Heidi's, one of her takeaways was when you start to talk to people about like being collaboratively divorced, they don't meet this with open arms.
No.
This isn't like, like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, no, it does not sound
well, great. And that's part of it. They want revenge, martyrdom, and so on. The anger, clouds, the rationality. And unfortunately, if there are children involved, they get sucked into it.
Yeah.
And the alienation that sometimes occurs is terrible. I mean, I've been, I was in practice, 45 years, and I saw this, from one side to the other, and where cases where one parent, alienated the kid or kids against the other parent, and so on, and it was traumatic for the other parent, and so on. The kids, of course, had little or no access to the other parent. But when those kids became adolescents or young adults, they had this reawakening that, oh my God, my other parent, typically the dad, but not always, my other parent, wasn't this demon, and so on. We were manipulated. And the irony is, many times it turns around. Yeah. They now want little to do with the manipulator, and so on. And so what this parent did in many cases is held the kids through their childhood without allowing them to have contact with the other parent, but lost them for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And that's just sad to hear for sure. But, I don't know. I'm a big fan of like thinking clearly, right? And I love like thinking about thinking a lot, because it is just, I said, if people had better metacognitive skills, almost no other problem would exist, because you would have like a very clear way of thinking through it. But unfortunately, it's not always possible. Hey, listen, I know we've got, I want to get to one other thing before we lose you.
We have to say goodbye, yeah.
Your first two books make a lot of sense to me, but then you get into your third book, and I'm like,
is it his third, or is like your last book?
Whatever, the sex one. What number book was that? The sex for
silver sex or something?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, is the thought that like, hey, fuck it, if you made it this long, let's talk about how much sex you should be having. Like, I mean,
well, you got me. Actually, if you look at the books, they really tell my career. So the first two books were on basic parenting, who's raising whom, and coping with your adolescent. And then the third one is the marriage one, is how come I love him but can't live with him. The fourth one, and this is right when I did my pivoting that I was talking about, and it's entitled "Too Busy Earning a Living to Make Your Fortune." And again, following what I was doing and the opening and so forth, and the willingness to take a risk, and so on.
Right.
And quoting, Henry Ford, like, if you think you're going to be a success or a failure, you're right.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, the mindset and so on. Then the book that came out after that was The Graduate Course You Never Had, which is the book for mental health providers on developing the practice management. I did a book with a good friend of mine who was a business analyst, entitled "Overcoming Your Negotiophobia," talking about how we negotiate, if you think about it, all day long, with our partner, with our kids, with our friends, with our boss, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last two that we have touched on. Well, the overcoming, love your child more than you hate your ex. That was related to the work I did in the family courts for a decade or more. And then lastly, that came out just about a year ago now. It's entitled Silver Sex, Insights into Senior Sexuality. And basically what I talk about there is frankly, there's a lot of ageism going on.
Yeah.
Not as the media, if you look at it, handles psychotherapy with the exception of Michael Phillips, who did this on his own. But if you take a look at how Hollywood portrays mental health providers, the vast majority of times they're kooks, they're nuts, they're foolish. Sometimes they're amoral. And so on. Why do they do that? I mean, it only reinforces the stigma. So same thing here with seniors. When's the last time in a movie, so on, you saw two seniors being in bed and being sexual?
Yeah,
Can you
very
remember?
rarely.
Do you ever see them? Yeah. No, we watched. My wife and I watched different shows. The young kids, and so on. It's all the time. Okay, but
sure,
it's like it's not supposed to happen with seniors, apparently, and so on.
The only movie I could think of actually is that one with Jack Nicholson.
The one where they're on the beach.
Yeah,
as good as it gets.
Yeah. That's the only movie I could think of that actually, and he gets like carted to the hospital for like too much,
like
Viagra
2 or 3 times. Yeah. He has a heart attack. Yeah.
But like that was, first of all, that movie was forever ago, and second,
it was
of all,
forever ago.
It's
one of my wife's favorites, though.
Yeah, but it's like one movie. Like it's just it's a singular example.
And so seniors, unfortunately, seniors too often say, "Well, I'm old. Why bother? Who cares?" And that goes for their own, for that matter, for their own physical fitness. More seniors. I've got a number of articles on why seniors need to get to the gym. I've been teaching yoga now here for the past decade or so, and I got certified, at age 75.
Wow.
I saw that. That's bananas. I love that. That's awesome.
So I'm in this class of 20 some, kids, if you will.
Sure.
The closest person in age is 30 years younger than me, and she's being given assistance, and I'm here alone. So and there's only one other guy who's in this class, and so on. But seniors need to do this. It's important. But again, I love it when I talk to a senior guy and I say, yoga has done a lot for me, and say, well, I don't want to become a pretzel, or I'm too stiff. Wait a minute, that's like saying I'm too sick to go to a doctor. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, totally.
So this last book basically is trying to basically say it's okay. Be proud of it. Let's not be ridiculous.
I mean, that's a whole topic too that doesn't get any real introspection, right? I mean, I think people are just sort of like, we that's not entirely true. I guess we just recently talked to somebody who said at one point the highest growing STD
HIV population specifically
was in retirement homes.
Yeah.
Because they're not using any kind of prophylactics or anything like that. And I was like, okay, so there's that. But outside of that, like there really isn't a podcast that I'm aware of. I'm sure there is a podcast on this.
There's got to be one now. I think we Google it.
Yeah. Well, try to get senior guys to address their ED.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, if they're not going to talk about how to raise a kid, are they going to talk about how to raise?
Good point.
Well, they already have the kids. What else do they need?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, we actually had a doctor, Dr. Elliot Justin, on talking about the same thing. He has a penis ring that is like an Oura ring, right? And it measures nocturnal erections. And he's got this whole thing. He goes, it's hard to find study participants. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know why that is. I would love to try that. I mean, it feels very much like something I wouldn't be shying away from, but apparently I'm not the normal one in the group. It seems like most people don't really want to get down that rabbit hole.
Well, as you were saying, yes, the rate of STDs in the boomer population is as high as it is in the 18 to 24 group.
Wow.
That's because, the few available men, who can function, basically are like bees to the flowers, because there's a lot of women that would, still like to, engage in some sexuality, but there aren't that many men who are available.
So you're saying we just got to outlast other people, and
then we've got our pick of the litter.
No, we don't need charm or anything like that. We just got to make it longer.
It helps.
It helps.
Also, this boomer generation has the highest divorce rate than ever before. And it's partly for the same reason, is that, some of us are more active, those that are wealthier than previous groups and so on, and want to be sexual, and yet many times our partner doesn't. The guys sign off, and frankly, a lot of women do as well. Aren't addressing their issues, sexual issues, as they age.
Makes sense.
We've talked about this on the show a couple times, but till death do you part used to mean a lot different of a thing than it does now, right? Death,
when 80 doesn't sound that old anymore. That's a long time.
Yeah. And so now you're thinking, I mean, we said, hey, it's not totally out of the question if people get their longevity dreams and we're living to 120. It's not out of the question that you could have 2 40-year marriages in one lifetime or 3 20-year marriages, which is still a significant marriage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could have all kinds of, like, the reality of this equation is changing dramatically. I think having nothing to do with anything other. Time is a lot longer than you think it is. We just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. You're like, oh my God, that's a long time. And I don't know, that just didn't happen very often. What 20 years ago, what did you hear? Like one or two 50-year marriages. Now I hear that way more than I ever used to.
Yeah, it'll be 55 for us this August.
Oh, wow. Man, look at you. Congratulations. That's awesome. I don't know. Are you looking for round 2 yet? You're like, I don't know. It's 55 years, man.
My wife might be, but
Doc, listen, I could talk to you about this all day.
Thank you, man.
This is really educational. I know you're retired, so there's nothing there, but what are you up to? Anything we could point people towards, or kind of
wemsites, conferences, whatever you're doing, man?
Yeah, whatever you're doing.
Sure. My website is topphoenixpsychologist.com. It lists the books, and they're available there, and it lists everything that I've done. I still do, as I said, a lot of speaking on various topics, and I do podcasts as well. And I still coach, young therapists typically on how to get started in practice, or give a boost to the practice that they're doing.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing some time with us. This was really educational for me.
You really got my gears going on what else can I do related to the field that other people haven't thought about too. I really appreciate you bringing that to the table.
Yeah. Right. And I think this multidisciplinary thinking is a talk track that I had a couple years back. And I think it is really underrated. Being able to think about a problem through multiple lenses like you have is is a whole different art form that really, in the age of the specialist, I think we kind of lost that a little bit, right? Like, oh, I need to be a specialist in this thing. I'm like, or not. So cool, man. Well, listen, thanks again, guys. Enjoy the weekend and see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.